Hi, this is Pete Holiday.
This is country artist Olivia Rose.
This is Cupid's Heart.
Hey, this is Shobsy.
My name's Matt Blaze.
And you are listening to Two Irish
Don't Make a Right
on CJSR 88.5 FM.
in Edmonton and around the world on CJSR.com.
Don't touch that dial.
Today on Two Irish Don't Make a Right, I have the wonderful Luke Clerkin with me. How you doing, Luke?
All good. How are you?
Good, good. You have had a very exciting weekend.
Yeah.
Tell us all about it down at Strad Valley.
So I went down to the picnic. I played twice over the weekend. So I play as Luke Clerkin, but I also play alongside a rapper called The Accidental Rapper. So we collaborate on different things. Like he'd be very political and very into raising awareness about different causes and stuff like that. And my background is actually mental health awareness and suicide prevention and homelessness awareness and things like that. So I met him last year and I decided I want to work with him. So I went up to him and I said, we need to work together. And fast forward, a year and a half later, we've played multiple festivals together. So I've played Electric Picnic with him. I've played All Together Now, which was last month. And then this past weekend I played with him. But then from last year's appearance at the festival, I met the guys at Global Green and I was like, I want to play my own set. And would that be possible? And then it happened. So I played on Saturday night with Accidental Rapper. And then I played on Sunday by myself. Well, I had accompaniment actually. I had a cello player with who's just an amazing artist in her own right. Her name is Joy Cello. And then I had my wonderful girlfriend, Breed Lyons, join me as well. So it was just amazing. It was amazing to be able to share the stage with people who I really admire and love, and to be in a place where I've had so much history because I've played Picnic on many occasions, but this was the first time that I played where it was just under my own name and I wasn't going down as part of a collective, or I didn't just pick up a random slot when I was working down there doing night shifts of security and stuff like that. A lot to unbox, but but this year was just the first time that I actually stood up there and I got to showcase who I was for longer than 15 minutes. It was a 40-minute set and it was just me and my music and just everything that I've been working on for a long time. I left on that stage, so yeah.
Wow, what a thing to accomplish.
Yeah, it was incredible.
That's amazing. And so, yes, you're right. You just revealed a huge amount of information there that we could spend the next hour unpacking. Yeah. But for our listeners in Edmonton and around Canada and the world, for anyone that is not familiar with you, you reference lots of collectives and things. Yeah. What has your music journey been like so far? Yeah, it's been. I'm 32 now, so it's over 20 years, you know what I mean? So, and then about a 10-year gap in between that. But I played music when I was a kid and I stopped because it wasn't a cool thing to do when I was growing up. And also it was just because I felt I could, I had a parent who was telling me that I need to play something. When you're told you need to play something, do something, it becomes a chore. And I kind of fell out of love with it because I wasn't given the push in school as well. And then I just became I just became a bit of a mess as a teenager. I kind of lost myself and lost who I was, lost all the love and the creativity that was built into me, I would have stopped when I was about 12 or 13 and just kind of turned to drink and drugs and working class things that kind of consume you as a young lad, you know what I mean? And that's the thing that happened to me. Where'd you grow up? Tallaght. Okay. Yeah. So I just got into that. I fell into that escapism essentially. Yeah. And then from that, I hit a really dark depression, and the thing that got me out of that was rediscovering my love for music and stopping drinking and stopping doing drugs and stopping doing things like that, and just finding that love within myself rather than outside entities, and things like that. So I haven't drank or anything in it'll be 12 years this year. Wow, congratulations. Yeah. So it's that's where the music comes in. Music is my way of of dealing with my mental health issues and the things that come up for me, and it's still an ongoing thing. Like I was literally in like counselling about 2 hours ago. You know what I mean? So it's like that thing. It's just that I find my way of like helping myself and others is through music. You know, I rediscovered like a purpose. I never really knew what I was meant to do in life until I lost everything and found myself again. I sound so cheesy and cliche, but it's the truth. You know what I mean? And I went through all that stuff, and just came out the other end a better person and a stronger person. And through music, it's just I've just done amazing things, like, you know, and it's been incredible.
Well, it's amazing when the universe shows you so unequivocally that you're on the right path when opportunities just emerge and show up.
Yeah. I just think at some points you have to be prepared for that, because an opportunity could show up and then you're like, oh, I haven't done enough for it. Yeah. So right now I'm realising that loads of opportunities did show up in my past, but I just wasn't at the stage where I was ready to take them. Yeah. Or if I did take them, they didn't go anywhere. Right now I'm at this point where I'm doing this a long time now. I'm doing it like solidly for like 8 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like as a career, like as a full-time thing for nearly a year. It'll be like a year. It's literally a year where we are at a year stage where I'm doing this full-time and I'm self-employed and I'm doing this as my main thing.
Amazing. I mean?
So it's just like I've got to that point, but it took me a while to get to the point. And then now I'm not saying I'm making loads of money, because I'm not, but I'm actually being able to support myself through different like grants and through different like I'm just getting. I think people are starting to value my music more, and I'm starting to value myself more, to put myself more out there and to take opportunities. And because of the work that I've put in and the effort that I put in, I'm able to reach up to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, so you touched on two things there that I really want to circle back to. Grants in Ireland and seeking self-help as a dude.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about any hang-ups you may have had or simply didn't have about going and seeking mental health for yourself?
I think, right, Ireland, I don't know whether anyone knows about this in Canada, but Ireland, like, right now is probably at the worst place that it's been in a long time. And even 12 years ago nearly, when I sought help, it was still like that. I'll explain that more because of the mental health crisis that we're in like under a lot of stress because of homelessness and everything. So but this time, like, we rewind to 12 years ago, mental health wasn't really talked about a lot, and I approached my doctor, and my doctor was a person who said, okay, after going to A&E and after presenting myself as a person who just didn't want to be alive at that point, I went back to the doctor, and the doctor didn't refer me to a counselling service. That was the biggest hang-up, if that's the meaning of it, because I had to seek my own help.
Right.
And that was the biggest thing about that. And sometimes I'm hearing of that same story happening to some people. Fast forward to where we are now, it still can happen, but there's a lot more help out there, and there's a lot more awareness. There's still a stigma that surrounds it. I see it in young men especially. There's still a stigma. And the reason why I'm so open about it is because hopefully my openness can inspire other people to be more open about it. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing. So I saw that, you know, my doctor back then, she told me that, oh, she has a friend who was hiring somebody. And I wasn't looking for a job. I just was looking for a purpose, and I wanted to survive. And that doesn't mean through working in a restaurant. I wanted to be alive. Mm-hmm. I wanted to try to stay alive and be there and be present and find who I was. And ringing up a friend and asking him to give me a job, it wasn't helpful in that moment. And neither was just slapping a load of antidepressants on the table and telling me to go on my way.
Wow.
That wasn't what I wanted. And what I found through counselling, through referring myself to a counselling service, it's the exact same counselling service that I am in right now at this very moment that I had earlier. But like, that's what saved my life. Do you know what I mean? Finding that power within myself, you know?
So that's really what I was trying to get at. You identified some obstacles that you hit where like you weren't provided with the resources that you should have been to from the people that you went to initially, like your family doctor and things like that. But I suppose what I really was trying to ask was internally, your self-talk. What were the main things? And I'm asking you this just like to get an insight into where guys are at internally. Like, what are the things that you would that would hold you back from seeking that help for yourself? Like,
I think it was, I talked about the stigma, you know what I mean, about being a lad from a working class area where it's all about trying to be one of the boys. And like, I masked all of that, everything that I struggled with. Like, I think the reason why I drank so much and did drugs and escaped through that was because of the stigma and because we didn't understand it. So that was the biggest thing that was in our way then, and it still is. I see it in my younger friends, you know, it's still there. It's the stigma, like, to think like, oh no, if I can't be like this, like, you know, this whole big boys don't cry. Well, they do, like, everybody cries, and crying is essential for survival. You know what I mean? Like, I think just to embrace that, to allow yourself to feel that, especially as a man. Like, crying is brave. It's bravery because we're letting everything out, you know? And talking about our feelings is what we need to be doing, because that's what's going to keep us alive.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think that's, so it was like what stopped me, but like in that moment, I didn't have a choice, you know what I mean? Because it was either talk or allow my thoughts to consume me. Yeah. You know, and that was what it was.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, you really like arrested me when I heard you play at the Whelan's open mic. Yeah. Your dynamics, your delivery, like, you're just in your songs. You can tell that you occupy their space, they occupy your space. Yeah. Like, you're just in it, and it's so captivating. We touched earlier on a couple of things, and I think it's so great how you wrap your messages into your music. And having gone through counselling services in Dublin and in Edmonton myself, I wonder, for anyone listening now, would you be able to just give a couple of pointers of where you could go if anyone's listening in Dublin? Of
course. So I'm only really in tune with what's happening in South Dublin, but there is a lot of helplines that you can go into. So I'm part of, actually, there's a group that's all over Dublin, and it's all over the world. It's called Grow, and I think it could be actually in Canada. So Grow is like a support group that I go to. I don't go to them as often as I mean to, but it's a group of people who sit around for me, it's a Tuesday night in the city centre, and we sit around in a room and we talk about our week and the struggles that we have, and then everybody gives their own feedback on how you might improve that, or like everything like that. And it's just such a lovely community, and that's all over the world. So there may be one in Canada, in Edmonton, there may be one everywhere, and that's so that's a big one. In Dublin, there's a group called Let's Get Talking. They actually are in Dublin and in Galway. The one that I go to is the Village Counselling Service. There's one in the city centre called Shannon's Hope Line, which is based in around the Liberties. And there's a lot of little services that are in the communities, and by Googling them and finding them, it's very handy to find. The biggest thing that I find in these services is that they just don't get the funding to raise awareness for themselves. And I worked for a charity for 4 years when I would raise awareness, and we realized that was the biggest struggle. So we raised a lot of money, so they could put it into marketing and stuff like that. You know, so I think that's the biggest thing about it. So I think just finding out what community services are in your area is the biggest thing. And maybe talking to the people like Citizens Information and that kind of thing. And I know it sounds like a bit mad, but like just Googling them in your area, like counselling service in, say, if you're in Coolock, if you're in Cabra or something like that. And you'll be surprised about the amount of them that actually come up that you just don't know about because of the awareness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's about making that first step about looking them up and then sending an email or making a phone call, or sometimes it's even a text. But there is services that if you don't want to do that, there is like the Samaritans, of course, and there's I think there's another like Pieta House, like which is I think it's worldwide now. Okay. You know, so like services like that. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, just like music, once you start talking about your problems, it can always feel really intimidating to go to your first session. Yeah. But coming out of it, you realize you're not the only one going through it, and that community that you find is huge. Yeah. It's amazing. That's wonderful. And so, just talking about grants as well. Keeping you buoyant as you go into this as a full-time job. When I left Canada, I wasn't aware of so many grants available. So how has that changed? What are
I think COVID opened a lot of different things, opportunities, because people obviously weren't surviving at that point because there was no music scene, there was no art scene, there was nothing going on at that time. So in the last year, they introduced the basic income for artists, which I'm really lucky to be one of the 2,000 people picked in a lottery. You know what I mean? And like, so that's amazing. So I'm on this scheme for another 2 years. Amazing. So it's keeping me above the water. It's keeping the wolves away from the door, as they say. But it's given me the opportunity to be able to do this as a full-time thing after this scheme is finished. You know, which is amazing. Like it's incredible, and I'm really, really grateful. And it's something that I've been kind of like weary about talking about, because I know how it can, like, there's a big thing in Ireland about like what's begrudgery, you know, that does exist, but I'm like, no, this is actually an opportunity. We are a pilot scheme. There's 2,000 of us that has been given this opportunity, and to make the most out of it. And then within these 2 years, after these 2 years, if this is all a success, that can carry on to people like yourself and to other artists. And it's not just music. Like, I was literally just picked out of a lottery. It's not because of how long I've been doing it. I know people who've just been doing music 2 years who got it. You know what I mean? It was just literally, you had to tick a few boxes and that was it.
Amazing. And then is there, because I was just talking about this with somebody a few days ago, is there an accountability portion to that scheme?
You have to show them that, like, you have to fill in like the amount of work that you're doing. You have to fill surveys and stuff in, like, do you know what I mean? And you have to kind of show them like what you've been doing, and that the surveys are like very long.
Okay, so they're very involved, detailed. For anyone that's thinking it's just a bunch of loser musicians sitting there getting a free paycheck, you're working for it and you're accountable.
And I think the big thing, like, you're held accountable because of that. Like, you know, if you really want this to be a full-time thing for other artists, that's the big thing. Like, that's what holds you accountable, because you want to make sure that this is a thing that will go on for years and years and years, because we're the pilot scheme. So there's that, I feel, is like, maybe accountability isn't the right word for what I'm saying, but I mean, you feel that the pressure is on you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Absolutely. In that sense, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what keeps me going on it. And like, I'm not just doing like music and performance. I'm like now starting to do workshops and stuff like that. I'm starting to do music workshops, music and mental health workshops, and doing all that kind of stuff. But and this has given me that opportunity to do that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right.
And to record, and in the middle of recording an album, which is insane. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't have the time and the ability to be able to do this, because I'd have to probably worry about doing a full-time job, or maybe moving out of Dublin, because what I talked about earlier, how bad it is at the moment. You know what I mean? I'm only surviving because of this.
Yeah.
You know?
Amazing. Well, Luke, thank you so much for spending your time with me. I could talk to you for another 2 hours, I'm sure. And you do have a very exciting run of shows coming up in London.
I'm playing the Camden Chapel in Camden, just off Camden Town. It's in the London Irish Centre on the 19th of October. So I'm playing there. It's my first ever headline show in London. I've played a few times over the last few years. Sorry, I've only played 4 times in the last year. And this will be my 4th, actually. The Electric Picnic Head on Me is coming back. But yeah, that's what was going on in the last while. Like I was born in London, so I wanted to kind of go back and retrace some like roots and meet people, and I just randomly found some other Irish people that were there, and then just got talking to them. This is what we do. We all, like, no matter where we go in the world, we always flock to each other. You know what I mean? And I think that's what happened. And now I get to go to play in the London Irish Centre in Camden, which is a place that gave my family a lot of help when they moved from Ireland to England to London. Do you know what I mean? So it's amazing it's like literally a full circle thing. And I only realised this last week that my dad used to go Cayley dancing there every Saturday night. You know what I mean? It was a place where he went to when he wanted that taste of home. And now I get to go there, and I feel like the Céad Míle Fáilte really exists within that building. You know what I mean? So
beautiful. Okay, so if anyone wants to find you online,
yeah, it's just at Luke Clerkin on everything, and then I'm on Spotify and all the other places where you find your music.
Brilliant. And that's
CLERKIN.
And that's ERKIN for the Canadians. Okay. Thanks so much, Luke, for spending your time with me. And best of luck with your show in London.
Thank you so much.